Okay, coaches, this week I'm doing something very different on my YouTube channel. I've been blessed to coach in multiple places, but for the vast majority of my career, I've now been in the state of Arkansas. And as I learned really quickly, there's some really, really good coaches in Arkansas. And so this week I'll be going through and talking to multiple ones. Today, I'm very, very blessed to have Coach Van Paschal on with me. In my opinion, one of the top coaches in the state. That's why I've got him on here, and very, very excited to talk to him. Does things a different way, and I think he's something that we can get a lot from, and has had a lot of success at multiple stops, which to me is a good trait of a very strong coach. So, Coach, for those who may not know you, if you don't mind giving us kind of a quick background on you and kind of where you've been in your career and where you are now.
Yep. My name is Van Paschal. Married to Lisa, former Lisa Partee. We both grew up in Brinkley, Arkansas, and I played high school football in Brinkley. And long story short, wound up at the University of Arkansas at Monticello, actually playing baseball, and then got in the program later on to finish up with football. And then started off. My old high school football coach told me, if you want to be a football coach, son, you got to go to Texas. So, that's where all the great coaches are, I guess. But off I went to Texas, and I really enjoyed it in Fort Worth area. But we had just got married, so needless to say, we were both homesick and ready to come back to Arkansas. And when the year was over, we hightailed it back, and I wound up in Mark Tree, Arkansas, as an assistant. Coached there 2 years. Enjoyed that stint there, and after 3 years of high school ball, I thought I was ready to be a head football coach, and ventured off to Palestine. Was actually called Palestine Wheatley at the time, but we didn't have any Wheatley athletes. We were just in name only. So I learned a lot about a ball there. Did not win a football game at the high school level or the junior high level. I think we won one in seventh grade, and I did them all, me and one other guy, if you can imagine that, back in 1988. But it was an experience, and then I was blessed to be able to go back home to Brinkley as an assistant coach, and I learned football there, and I actually learned it by breaking down film basically by myself with the two of us, and as I broke down film and studied coaches and what they were doing, and doing that on Saturday and Sunday back in the day, all day long, I began to see how people put plans together and stuff like that. And then in 1991, they offered me the head football job there, and so I stayed there until I believe the spring of '02. I left there and went to Sheridan for a year. One of those moves is tough. Sheridan's a tough job. Stayed 1 year, went to DeQueen for 2 years there. Great school system. Enjoyed my stay there, and off to Monticello. Stayed 5 years. Had a good staff there, and had some players. You got to have players to be successful. And we won a state championship in '09 there, and then was blessed to be able to go to Barton and coach 7 years at Barton. Had a runner up there. Just kind of one of those Cinderella stories, I guess you'd say. And then here we are in Wynne, Arkansas. I'll be going into my 5th year here, and we've been able to win some games here in Wynne.
Yeah, but very humbly way of the guys that may not know you. Coach is extremely humble. He's had a lot of success at these places, and a lot of these places had not had success or weren't able to sustain it after he left. And so, to me, again, a mark of a good coach. And Coach, appreciate you just coming on and going through. I knew a little bit of that. I didn't know all of that. I know you had gone to Texas. So real quickly before we get into the rest of our stuff, I know it's been a long time, but your stay in Texas and Arkansas, did you see much difference in the two states?
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you. I heard Coach Outlaw years ago, who used to be at Arkadelphia and went to Texas, and he spoke to our clinic, and he was talking about the knock on ball that people were trying to kill football, and I didn't really believe it, but he even said it was out in Texas. But the things that Arkansas at that time, they were behind the state of Texas. I don't know now where that's at, honestly, but I know at that time Texas was so far advanced in 1985. Just facilities were really good compared to what mostly what I've been in my career in Arkansas. The pressure is way higher. It was then. It's changed in Arkansas with drive time media and that kind of stuff, and people talking ball, which is good. That's okay. That's what you want. You want people with eyes on you. But just if you don't win soon, you're down the road, and it's taken that a while to get to Arkansas, but it has gotten here. So I'd say that was probably the difference that I saw, that the pressure was there in 1985 to win.
Okay. Well, kind of continuing down that, talk a little bit, you've been coaching now for a little bit. I thought I'd coach for a little bit, and you've been a little bit longer in the game, but so how have you seen the game, specifically in Arkansas? How has the game evolved over the last 30 years?
Yeah. Well, when I started, you ran the football. I mean, if you were a throwing guy, you were kind of one of those odd guys out there a little bit, but gap 8 defense, man, you're 3 deep in the secondary, you load the box, and hey, the best man wins. If you got those guys that are tough, hard-nosed on defense to stop that run, and then you're able to do some, grind it back on offense, and drive it down the field. A lot of 14-7 ball games back in those eras, and stuff like that. So, and then, with the spread offense comes in, and I was at Brinkley, and Gus Malzahn had been at Hughes, and so we played each other, and Gus had told me before he went to Shiloh that he was going to bring in that offense into Hughes and start running it. And so anyway, he took it to Shiloh and did what he did with it. I was playing Gus at the time. They were having a hard time finding people to play him. They were kind of blackballed when he first got up there, and not due to him, but was the previous stuff that was going on. And so he was having a hard time finding ball games. So, we go all the way from Brinkley, Arkansas to Shiloh Christian, and out of the goodness of my heart to play him a football game. But with that, the spread offense comes in, and then he has success. People pick up on, we copy things, and we look for winners, and so and here it goes. And so people begin to play with that, and it's evolved to what it's evolved in today. And so the spread was so far, they were catching defenses struggle for a long time. Now you see that defenses have caught up, and if not excelled somewhat, you might say. So they've evened the playing field now. But with all that said and done, the more it changes to me, the more it stays the same. You've got to control the line of scrimmage. If you win the line of scrimmage, you're going to win a lot of football games. And then if you're doing other things, if you got a good offense go with a good defense, that, then you've got a great chance to be successful. And then you bring in some kicking game to go with that. 3 phases of football. And so I'm one of those guys that tries to keep it simple. But the game, I guess my answer to you, Kenny, is the more it's changed, the more it stayed the same.
That's right. Well, and kind of my next question was getting into that was, you have a very unique style of play. It may not have been unique 20 years ago, 30 years, but it's unique now. Not many guys run the 3-3 stack. Not many guys run option under center, smash you in the face football. And I got an up close and taste, of that this year. Y'all do it very, very well, and it's different now. So just talk a little bit about why you either maintained or gone to that style of play and how that's benefited you.
Yeah. Well, as a head coach starting off, and I say for me in 91, even though I'd been at Palestine, that was just a learning experience. But in 91, I began to take a football team and build a program at Brinkley. Was able to stay there about 10 years or so. And along that period there from 91 to 01, I would get certain players to do certain things. The previous coach there was a wishbone guy. Wishbone was big in the 80s and said, that stuff. So we evolved from wishbone, and then I got a throwing quarterback comes along in 1994, and I've got him running wishbone as a sophomore, and it's just not very good. And we're not very successful, but I can see he can throw the ball. We've got a few guys can catch. So, hey, we go to a pro eye set, and I've got a tight end, and we can block a little bit. I've got a tailback. I've got a fullback. And then here we go. We play action pass, that kind of stuff, boot waggle, those kind of things. And we make a living with that, and had a very good year in 1995 there, and went 3 rounds of the playoffs with that set. And people don't know this about me today. I'll share it today. Everybody thinks that, and I love flexbone. Don't get me wrong. It's really been good, and I'm leading up to why I do it. But my favorite offense is the pro eye. I mean, I love to pound the ball and you're downhill, and you can still run whatever you want to run out of it, of course. But the play action pass to me is, it's one of the greatest tools you've got. We see RPO today. That's play action pass in a different form. We're freezing people to be able to throw the football. But that's really my favorite offense. If I had the guys across the front, and I've got all the tools, and I almost went to it my first year at Wynn. I was missing a tailback. If I'd have had a true tailback as big as we were up front, we were too big for flexbone, in my opinion. And there'll be people that'll disagree with that. I'm sure that are flexbone people, but we just weren't able to do the things off the offensive line that we needed to do, in my opinion. But anyway, and then from the eye, that guy graduates, and then I've got a 5'1" quarterback, and his hands, it's just half the size of mine. And he's never played quarterback, and I have quarterback tryouts. And I never forget, his dad comes out there, and he's standing out there, and I said, "Can I help you, sir?" He said, "Well, I was told my son's a quarterback out here." He said he didn't even get off the bench in junior high. I said, "That's correct. Your son is the quarterback here." And so I get him for 3 years, and he can't run the eye. He can't throw the football. We set a record against Shiloh Christian. We threw 6 interceptions to the same guy. I believe it's in the books, and he did that. So from then on, we don't throw the football the next 4 games, and rightfully so. But I had to change offenses, so I went to I go to Barton. I talked to Frank McClellan, who, if you knew Frank, Frank's like, "Why are you here? What are you trying to steal? What are you after?" He was that kind of guy. He thought I was trying to come in there and sabotage him. But anyway, you want to talk to the best people. Frank was the best guy, and to learn the wing tee, and he shared a little bit. But so I do wing tee for a couple of years, and then from there, I'm bigger up front, and I go and I do some Cabot tee, Malham stuff for a couple of years. And then I got a quarterback again that comes through that can throw the football. So now we're kind of pro, split backfield, doing a little bit of veer, doing a little bit of throwing the football. So I mix it all up. So when I leave there, I go to Sheridan, and we run a Cabot tee, and it didn't matter what we ran in. We were not going to be very good. I ran every offense under to man, probably trying to find a way to win. I did run flexbone a little bit, but didn't know flexbone. And that was actually our best set. And then I go to DeQueen, and then my second year at DeQueen, I'd been in kind of I inherited a 6'6" quarterback that could throw. So I'm in the spread pro tee, if you can imagine that. And people they're like, "Oh, he was in the spread." I threw on first, and I threw on third. I ran on second down. And that's what we did, because that's what we had to do with. And so after that year, I said, I have got to find an offense to stay in. I said, I'm just, to be successful, you've got to find something that you hang your hat on. And one of my coaches, my D coordinator, said, "Coach, if I'm ever a head football coach, I'm going to run the Boonville," is what he called it, the Boonville. And I said, "Well, what's the Boonville?" And he said, "Well, they run wing tee, but they also run triple option." And so we played Boonville that year, and I went back and looked at his film, and they just annihilated us in a rainstorm. And so I go down and spend the day with Kenny Rippey. And if you remember, very successful. Now, Kenny is worse than Frank. Kenny gives me absolutely nothing. He gives me his summer workout plan, and I spent a day with him, and all I got was the flu. I love Kenny, but that's the true story. And so I come back and I tell my guy, he said, "Well, that's the wrong guy." So I met a guy named Dale Mann. Dale comes down from Van Buren. He's he's coaching up there. I think maybe with Chris Hill. I can't remember if Chris was there or not. Anyway, Dale comes down and he shares stuff with me, and that's how I started. So I implemented it. Actually, I was going to my 3rd year at DeQueen. I put it in the spring, and we were rocking and rolling with it. And then I get the job at Monticello. And so when I come to Monticello, I'll never forget, one of the guys asked me, he said, well, Coach, how long you been running this offense? I said, just started. And I never forget his eyes. His eyes was about that big around, like, who we hired. But you know, so it evolved from, and I love the wing tee stuff, and I know you do too. And I still wrestle with not doing some wing tee stuff. I really do. Looking at what Harding does, the pure flex bone, I guess, and they do a great job. I mean, they're tremendous at it. They're the best. And so, you know, it's what I've been doing since. I had a down year at Barton. We actually got into a little double wing, foot to foot, and ran. I called it the Coach Stanley stuff that was at Gosnell for so long, and went to Bologna. He taught me that offense. Matter of fact, my last year at Queen, we ran that. We ran that because we just had nothing. We had nothing left, and I won 5 games. He said, "You'll win 5," and I won 5. And then I said, "I've got to find something to hang my hat on." So that's where the flex bone comes in. I started that in the spring of 05. Still learning the flex bone. I'll tell you straight up, still learning it. We got the Harding Clinic coming up. Want to go back over there and dig some more. But you know, that's what's going on.
Now, Coach, I just love hearing the stories of these older legends and how they just blew you off, because it makes me feel good when guys just blow me off too. So, but I think it's pretty cool, you know, to hear about the struggle to get where you got. You know, I think that's, for me, it's something I know I personally have. You always feel like when something's not working, what are you doing wrong? And sometimes you just got to find something else. And I love hearing how you kept working. That was my next question on here, actually, Coach, is how have you adapted? You know, each year you talk about offensively, you've adapted. Well, you also, kids are a little different now, probably, than they were 30 years ago. You know, and so you've got to be able to adapt there well. And obviously you've done a good job with that. So what are some things you've seen as far as how the game has maybe changed that way, and then how you've adapted to overcome that?
Yeah. Well, you know, you have eras. You go back to the 70s, and I'm a 70s kid. You know, I have no hair now, as you can see, but my hair was so curly I couldn't grow it long because it would knot up. But you had the long hair that came in, you know, in the 70s, and so you had the hippie era came through. So I played in a little bit of the hippie era, and then, you know, you just kind of go through different eras that the kids go through. But to me, the coaches remain the same, and the kids want to see. Kids are so smart; they pick up on a phony immediately. You cannot fool them. So you got to be yourself. So if there's one thing that I would tell anybody in coaching or whatever you're doing, you can't be Tom Landry. You can't be Vince Lombardi. You can't be Kevin Kelly. You can't be Frank McClellan. You can't be anybody but you, because God's wired you a certain way and he's gifted you. That's the thing. You have to realize that you've been given gifts to be successful. If you're coaching, you've probably been called to coach. If you're doing it for 10 years or more, you've been called to coach. If, you know, if not, boom, you see the light, you get out. You know, you just can't do it. It's too tough. But so you have to be you, and then you have to be real to kids, and whatever your demeanor is, and whatever you don't have to be. I mean, some guys are loud and brash. Some guys never say two, 3 words, but they know that just a look to a kid sends a signal, and kids respond to that individual as far as his leadership style, whatever that is, you know, and everybody's different. So kids want the real deal. And then, of course, they want successful coaches. And sometime before you become successful, you have to go in there and kind of say, you know, guys, here it is. You know, I'll be honest with you. This is where I'm at in my career. I hadn't been that guy, but I'll tell you what, together we can be that program. So, you know, I think if you tell people up front just the truth, and you go to work, and then you dig into what, you know, what your some things you're doing and what I see you doing, and you listen to the best. And I'm not saying that's me, but there's some. Kevin Kelly is the winner. You want to listen to what Kevin's got to say. Frank McClellan's passed now, but he was the guy that I wanted to hear talk. So guys that are winners, and how they've done it, just what you're doing right here. And then but to me, you got to be you. And then kids, people say kids change. Kids, to me, kids do not change. I always say this. I'm a firm believer in discipline. We got to saying it also jokingly, but it's true, discipline for instruction. And without discipline, you can't do anything. Somebody's got to be in charge. And if the head football coach is not in charge, you're never going to have success. I mean, you can delegate all day long, but the buck stops with the man at the top. And so, do I think kids change? Their hairstyles change, their clothes change, what they wear changes. That's eras, but they don't change. And once they realize that you are who you are, and you're the guy, and they got to go through you to be successful in that program, then they get on board, or they don't. And that's my philosophy. That's my style.
Yeah, no, Coach, I appreciate it. I've got two more questions for you, Coach. One's kind of a two-parter. What do you think is the best part of coaching? What do you think is the toughest part of coaching? It's kind of a two-part there, and then I've got one more at the end.
That's a good question. I've heard Bobby Bolden say he didn't care for the Friday night stuff, but he liked doing all the other stuff. The best part of coaching, man, Friday night when you walk out on the field on Friday night, and with COVID, it was different. It was some different stuff, but we still had some electricity and wind. I will say that we still had a lot of electricity on Friday night and wind. But I can just imagine, not to pick on a 2A school, but maybe to go into a smaller place, to not to have many people there. It just could be because you saw it on pro football, nobody in the stands. I admire those guys who play like, I know they're getting money, but I mean, they played hard, looked like to me. But just the calling the plays on Friday night, seeing what you've worked on all week long come to a head, I guess you might say, to what you wanted, the game plan that you put in, that you started putting in maybe on Friday night after your game, and it's never right on Friday night, that. So it changes on Monday. It does for me most of the time. But so that's, I like it all, I'll be honest with you. But there's some days when it's 105, it's like, whoo, I got to gear up, go get this today. It's like the kids do, or vice versa. But, I don't think it's anything like Friday night football.
Okay. Toughest part of coaching?
Oh, be careful here.
That's right.
That for me, it's been probably administration. I don't say, when I say school boards, somewhat, but you got to answer to somebody. And I got a good friend of mine. He's an insurance guy. He played college football. He was a kicker, and he made a comment to me. He said, schools want to hire a leader, and they want to get a guy that can get it done. But once they get him, many times they handcuff him, and they won't let him work. And I have seen that several times through the years. It is a battle. Football coaches, if they'll do it to Ken Hatfield, they'll do it to anybody. I've heard Ken Hatfield speak about when he was in the Air Force, and they were trying to fire him, and then they knocked off Notre Dame, and everybody's excited, and they had one of their guys that was trying to fire him at the door beating to get in, and Ken says, "Don't open it. We're not going to let him in here." And so I resonate with that. I can relate to that. Along the way, you've got a lot of people that do fight you. They pull against you for some reason. I don't get it, but because we say we're about kids. Well, ultimately, you're coaching the kids, and they're the ones that you'll want to mature and make men that go out and do well in society. So that's been a struggle for me to see admin, and I can't say that's everywhere I've been. I won't name any places, but I've seen it be a battle to do my job.
Yeah, they can be tough for sure, Coach. All right, last one. So I'm hoping a lot of coaches going, I'm sure guys will, because I know I wanted to hear you personally. So I know a lot of other coaches will want to hear this. So you can leave last kind of bit of wisdom for those guys coming up, those 21-year-olds that are just starting out coaching. What do they need to hear?
Yeah. Well, my deal is as a believer that without the blessings of the Lord, it's all in vain. And that's what I believe with all my heart, that if I'm rowing against the stream, then it's never going to happen. So I know that I'm called to coach. I know that 100%. Thankful for it. You have to be called to coach. I believe that with all my heart. And then once you're called, you need to plug in to how to do it the right way. There's lots of opportunities to, I'll say the word cheat. And that's in life. That's in everything we do. And trust me, I've been tempted to, when you know that there's a great back down the road, it's very tempting. If you just get that one guy, in your program, you're really going to have a chance to be, maybe win a state championship. But in guys' eyes, that's not the right way to do it. So, I think that's a number one for me. And then because I know all coaches go to clinics, they want to be successful. We don't go to clinics just to hear Van Paschal speak. We want to be successful. That's why we paid the money to go to the clinic. And so whoever the speaker is, you plug in, you take the notes. You may not get but one thing, but you'll get one thing from about every speaker. And sometimes it's what not to do. It's what not to do. You learn from that guy. Oh, I don't want to make that mistake. But you get with the best, and you find out how they did it. How's Buck James been successful? He's on a roll right now. He's the hottest guy out there. He's rolling. I think he'll tell you the same thing I think. He's got some good players. Number one, he's got good coaches. Good coaches is huge in a program. If you don't have help, my funnest memories is at Brinkley. Luckily, I was young. For 11 years until my last year, it was two of us in the high school. There was a head football coach and there was an assistant, and we did it all at the high school level. And I had two in junior high and one in seventh grade. Had 5 football coaches for 11 years, basically. And that was the way we ran the program. And so you need good help. Without good help, you're not going to be successful. So, you need to plug in. You need to learn all you can. And you need to get with people that have done it the right way. I think the right way, that have won. Barry Lunny Sr. is a guy that pops out to me off the top of my head. That would be a great one to talk to. Ken Hatfield, of course. Ken did more with less than probably anybody out there. I think that's a big deal. If you can find ways you talk about adapting. I think, I'm not married to any one scheme. The ultimate goal is to win the football game. So we have to monitor and adjust, and people think that since I've run flexbone since 2005, that it's flexbone all the way. But I'll be honest with you, I've already told you what my favorite offense is. So, that's not who I am. Who I am is to find a way to win the ball game on Friday night, but hopefully do it the right way. And then along the way in what you're doing, you want to mentor young people. And if there's anything we need bad right now in our society is some mentors. We're having a lot of turmoil in our society today through this election and all the things that are going on, and people are confused. But again, I say this, the most important person maybe in that kid's life is going to be their football coach. And he may not be the head football coach, but there's going to be somebody on the staff that kid can relate to and share with, and that may be his hero. And so the things that we do and say are going to be huge in that young person's life. So, I think those are keys. I'm definitely not the guru out there. I'm trying to learn just like you are, just like everybody else is. And I think, as you've heard it said, if we quit trying to learn, we're probably done. So, that's a little bit of mine. And I left this out. I'm married. I've been married for 36 years, but I've got 5 kids that I'm awful proud of. And one of them is actually coaching ball now, and a couple of them are married and moving on. And I've got one still in school. But that's what makes it all good for me, is that we're a coaching family, and it's fun to drag them around. Not always fun to drag them from place to place, but it's awful fun as we look back on some of the stuff that's going on. But that's my story.
No, Coach, I love it. I'm actually about to drag one on to basketball practice here in a little bit. I really, really appreciate your time, Coach. I know I'm a huge fan of yours, and I know there's a lot of other coaches that look up kind of to your story. I'm excited that you came on and let me share it. And hopefully, guys that are in Arkansas that are watching this, not that far to drive to win, and maybe Coach will actually tell you one thing you can take with them, unlike the guys before. And then guys that may be watching outside of the state, coaches at Wynne, Arkansas, which is in kind of the eastern part of the state. Of course, he's been all over, as you heard him talk about, and I've played against him, and he does all the things he's talking. He's authentic, he's genuine, and he's doing all these things. Coach, I really appreciate you coming on, and excited, and hopefully we'll get to hook up again before I got to play you again, this year. So.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you having me.
All right.